What's up, YouTube? I'm Michael. Behind the camera is Ellie. We are the Bill Paying Hobbyists, and we're using our hobbies and skill sets to pay down debt. And no, we're not. Actually, our debt is gone. So we're starting out the new year 2022, saving up for a down payment on a house, one of our goals from last year. So today we're getting back to the basics. We're going to make another pen, and today's pen is going to be made out of this deer antler. This was sourced ethically, so it's not like I went out and shot a deer. I don't hunt. So I'm going to use this to make a pen out of this time. And the first thing I need to do is I need to cut it down. I'm not going to use obviously the entire thing. And I'll let the puppies have this half with all the little tines on it. They'll enjoy that. And then we're going to figure out what we're going to use for here. So the first thing we need to do is go to the bandsaw and get a section cut off, get this part cut off, and get the rest of it cut up to the right length I need for my pen. So let's go to the bandsaw. All right, so first of all, I'm going to wear a respirator because these are very dusty when you cut them, and you don't need to be inhaling all that dust. Second, I don't need my my tube jig right now, my blank jig. Get that out of the way. I'm going to cut it right here so I can get that piece out of the way, and then we can determine what we need for the rest. So let's do that first. For this pen, we're going to do a bolt action, and that's the tube I need. So let's get the tube and get an idea of what we're going to get here. Now I can obviously use this section here, and I want to make sure that it's going to be straight all the way down. So I need to find the biggest curve, which is here. And if I put my tube up against it, am I going to be able to get enough meat on both sides of the antler when I drill my hole to be able to turn it? So that will work. So I'm going to cut it long. I'm going to cut it right here at my thumb. So let me grab a marker and mark that so I know where to cut it. So I'm going to cut it a little long right in there.
Oh, they get the rest of that too?
Nope. Right there, and then I can make more pens with that.
Or you can share with the puppies.
They have one the size of a dinosaur. They don't need mine. Now you're probably asking why I held it up in the air like that. I'm trying to keep these ends as straight as possible, and it just helps that way. Just make sure if you do that, you hold on to it very tightly. I think we'll be good if we go right there. So I'm going to hold it here, and I'm going to cut this part flat first, and then I'm going to flip it over and use my gauge like it's supposed to be. What this does is I set my tube here. This is a fine-tuning knob. I can make it a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. I want it a little bit longer because this is pretty soft on the ends, and in case I have blowout when I drill. Then I use the gauge right here, this stick. I put it here, I rest up my blank to it, and then I cut it, and then I have a blank that's just a little bit longer than the tube. So I'll show you how that works while I do it all at one time. All right, so we got it really, really close because I needed more to flatten on that side. I should have cut it, actually I should have cut it a lot longer for the first time. But this will work. So now I'm going to find my center, pretty close to my center, and I'm going to drill it. And we're going to judge this one. I mean, we have marrow in the center, and we know we're basically going to cut that out. And this is my flush side. That's my flat side that I want to go off of. So I'm just going to put a little indentation right there, and then we're going to go to the drill press. So I can do that right here. I don't need a lot of pressure. I just want something that is going to make a little point or a little dent in the center wherever you're going to drill, and it will help with your drill bit. So I'm going to go right here, and that follows that line, a little dent, and that's going to help with my drill bit. I'll show you what I mean. Let's go to the drill press. There's the dent for this pen. It's a 3/8 inch drill bit. I have this brad point, and the reason of that dent is that tip will go right there, and it gives me a follow. So let's put the drill bit in there. I have clearance. How far will it go down? We'll go down far enough. Let's check and make sure it's straight. Loud noises. All right. Now, I'm going to put this in here. Down. Make sure it's flat because that's the bottom part that's flat. I want to make sure that is flat. And then I'm going to do that. That's just going to hold it in place for me. I don't know if that's good or not. All right, there we go. Nice and oh. All right, there we go. We got that there. Now we're gonna drill for my tube, and I'm gonna put my mask on again. Now I have plenty of meat all the way around to turn, and my tube fits in there, and it is perfect. All right, now it's time to epoxy it in, so let's go back over to the workbench. All right, as you can see from drilling the hole that I have plenty of meat all the way around the center. So when I put my tube in, I know I have enough to turn, and my tube is not sticking out on either end, which is perfect. So my now antler blank is big enough. So now we're going to epoxy my weapon of choice, JB Weld 5-minute epoxy. You mix it up for 30 seconds, 2 parts, equal parts, 30 seconds, and you have about 5 minutes of working time. It says that it's cured to 3200 PSI within 1 hour. I like to let it set for 24 hours before I try to turn. I just want to make sure it's cured. Another trick, generally 50% of the time, your tubes will come smooth. You should take some 120 grit or 180 grit sandpaper and rough them up. This one happened to come already sanded with the lines in it. It helps with the epoxy adhere to whatever blank you're using. So right now we're just going to mix it up and we'll get it glued together. Don't push it out the other side, just make sure it's recessed a little bit on both sides. And there we go. Now we let that sit for 24 hours and then we're going to turn a beautiful deer antler pen. This is all dried, so now I just need to make sure I don't have any glue inside. So I'm just going to scrape it with my X-Acto knife here and make sure there's not any epoxy in there. Just want to get it out of the way, otherwise my bushings will not fit properly. It's good. All right, so now we're going to put it on the lathe and we're going to make it round. And my bolt action bushings. This is my sacrificial bushing right there that I don't need. I just use it as a spacer to get me away from the end of my pen mandrel. Bushing. There it is. And the other one. Spacer. Slide that over. Tighten that down. Give it a little turn there. Straighten that up. I'm going to use my vacuum this time because it's going to be dusty. I have my lathe set at 2800 and well, it's 2830 and that's what I'm going to turn this at to get it round. Now we are somewhat close, so now I'm going to sand off my edges so that they're square. And some people do this with a barrel trimmer, and it does a lot of things. It cleans out the inside of your tube if you have the right size shaft that goes with your barrel trimmer. Sometimes it'll chamfer it as well. I like to do it this way, and there's so many different ways you can do this. It's totally up to you how you want to do it. But this is my method. So I'm removing my mandrel and I'm going to use my sanding disc. And my drill chuck with the number 2 Morris on it and an off-center jig. Oh, well, it would help if I took off my mandrel saver first. That's kind of in the way. The little handle needs a little oil, little Earl on it. Yeah, it smells good, doesn't it, buddy? Dogs are going nuts right now because I'm turning antler. And they get antler as chew toys. So we'll put that on there, and then we find a 10th one's a charm. There we go.
Nice.
So that this slides in and out. And I will put that there, bring it all the way back to my chuck. My chuck needs to be cleaned. Resting point. Go lay down, Ollie. Go on. Oliver, go lay down. Thank you, buddy. So this will make it completely perpendicular to my blank. All I'm going to do is take it down until I see the shiny part of the end of my tube. All right. So I'm going to put my mask back on. I'm going to turn this at about 1300 to sand it, and then we'll go from there. There we have both ends. You can see the shiny end of the brass tube. And the reason I do this after I turn it around is so I have less material to sand. It makes it faster. If I left it like it was and then started sanding it, it'd be here forever. So now the idea is to get the ends down to this bushing, to this edge of the bushing, and then whatever kind of shape I'm gonna do for this one. Slight bevel. I'm not gonna do anything drastic with it. I just the way I like to turn pins. So backed up to 2800 and we're gonna start cutting. All right, now we're down to shape, and now it's time to do our sanding and buffing. I'm going to change out my bushings. I'm there, I'm right at it, so change out these bushings because I don't want to sand the bushings and get little metal fibers into my blank. It's bone, but you know, it's still a little bit porous and it could happen. So we use little plastic bushings. Ted. Now I'm going to start out with a 180 grit sandpaper. I'm going to use this as a backer. Just go like here, and then I'm going to go to 320, and then a 500 foam pad and a 1500 foam pad. Okay, a lot of times when you're sanding in a circular motion, you want to go through and you want to just kind of go with the grain. If it was wood, you would go with the grain just to make sure there's no circular lines in it. Otherwise, it will show up when you go to finish. There aren't a lot in here. Antler's pretty good about it, but I'm going to do it anyway. All right, so that's done. So now I need to clean this before I put CA glue on it, because even though it's bone and it looks nice and shiny right here, if I leave it like this, it's porous and it's not going to stay shiny. So I need to protect this, and it's just like anything else, like a wood, it's not going to stay shiny for very long unless I put something on it. So I'm going to put CA glue on it, but first I need to clean it, and to do that I'm just using regular denatured alcohol. And we just wipe it down. We want to get all the dust off of it, because if we don't, when we apply the CA glue, it's going to leave white specks. Now, granted, the antler is white. Yes, I know, but you will see them, trust me. And I'm going to turn this down to about 600. First, I'm going to use a Mercury CA Flex Thin. It's the one I like to use. I'm going to put 2 coats of that on there, and then I'm going to add some coats of medium. I like to use the thin first so they can get down and seep down into the pores. This is just a regular shop rag. You buy it whatever your auto parts store, cut up and folded. All right, so I'm going to let that sit about 10 minutes, and then I will do the last 2 steps. Some people put a lot more CA on it. Some people put 8. I like to use 5. It's a good protective coat, and it lasts for a long time. So we'll let that sit for a few minutes and do our next step. So this has had time to dry. Now we need to, it has little ridges in there from applying the CA glue, and we need to get rid of that or it's not going to shine properly. To do that, I use Abernet, and I have from 180 to 400, and it's going to do it in steps. I'm going to put this on 1300, the lathe on 1300, and I'm going to do it lightly. Going to sand it and get it smooth. I'm just trying to dull it up and get this smooth. I'm not trying to take my finish off. So let's do that first. Need that anymore, and our last bit is going to be wet sanding. So I'm going to protect the bed of my lathe with some rags because I don't want to get water on them. And for my wet sanding, I'm using my Micro mesh goes from 400 to 12,000. I like to use micro mesh. There are so many other things out there you can use. I think I saw one where it's a wax that goes to, I swear it said 80,000, 80,000, 80,000 grit. That's a lot. So I'm gonna turn this up to about 1800 and I'm gonna work through them. I'm gonna sand, I'm gonna dry it off. I'm gonna sand, I'm gonna dry it off. Actually, you know what? Let's do 1600. And what you want to look for is you want to see the water fly off when you stop with the pressure. Now people ask, well, how do you know you didn't sand through the CA finish? If you see any dull spots in your finish, then you know you sanded through. I don't see any dull spots. So I think we're good. All right, done with the wet sanding. Next is a polish. I use a glass polish. A lot of people use other stuff, waxes, whatever they find, metal polish. Some use plastics. You know, it's all on what you want to use. And then one more final piece to the puzzle. Renaissance wax. It gives it a nice protective coat, adds a little bit of shine to it, and it doesn't take a lot. And I have these two pieces that I made. Turning the lathe, it's just a soft pine, and it keeps from marring up the ends of my kit. We have our ink cartridge. Spring, don't lose the spring, you need the spring. That's the end cap, and here's the tip. So we're going to press in the end cap first. If I can get it open. All right. For these, you can change the way what side this is on. There's a little screw inside there. You probably can't see it, but there is. It's just a little Phillips head screw, and if it's loose, you can use that to tighten it up as well. So let's see, we'll find a spot. How about we'll put it together right there. We'll do that right there. That gets the clip out of the way. Really cool kit. So we're going to put that there, and we're going to slide this over just a little bit, lock it down, and then we're just going to turn here. Make it nice and straight. There we go. Till it seats, a little extra turn. Nice. So I need to back this up just a little bit. And now we're gonna do the tip. They definitely wrap these up so that they don't get damaged. I really like that. And this one doesn't really matter how you turn it, how you put it on. Get it close and put it together. And there is our pen. All right, so now we're gonna put our cartridge in. The tip just screws off right there. This one has the spring is a different size on both sides. This end is bigger than that side. Put the small side on the cartridge first so that it locks in. It keeps it on your cartridge so you don't lose it. That goes down, drop it in, screw it on, and we are done. We have a pen. Make sure your cap's tight. Little bullet cap, looks like the end of a bullet. You got a rifle clip, and the tip looks like a bullet. And this is the chromed finished one. We are done. It's time for numbers. First off, I love making these kind of pens. I don't get to make them very often. I love the antler. It's beautiful. For tools and supplies, we're looking at $10. That includes the glue and the sanding and my alcohol and all of that. For time and materials, we're looking at about $35. That includes, yeah. Ellie's over here, alcohol. I said, no, it's a denatured alcohol. I don't drink that. For time and materials, we're at $35. That's for the pen kit and the antler and putting it all together with the tube and everything else. So a total cost of $45. This pen will sell for $65. That gives us a profit of $20. All in all, a pretty good day. 2 days actually, because I like to glue the tubes the day before. We'll get this on Marketplace and get it sold and get our $20 profit. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you have some tips and tricks for turning pens, please share them in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and definitely share with all your friends and family. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you on the next one. We love you. Logan, come here, buddy. Yeah, oh, there it is. Oliver's not impressed. Oh, we got Shop Dog Junior and Senior. Yeah.